All right. Hello, friends. I'm Andrew Wilson.
And I'm Michael Carlson. This is Development Works for April 2017.
And on today's upcast, when doing international development, you got to realize that you know absolutely nothing.
We hear from Dr. Adam Kaufman, a medical doctor who helped Engineers Without Borders get off the ground.
Now, Dr. Kaufman started out as an engineering student with Engineers Without Borders in Cambodia and was a part of the project from the get-go. Then worked on international development as a medical student in Uganda with orthopedic surgeons. He did a study placement in Rwanda. He worked in the Howard Hospital in Zimbabwe, and then became a founder of the Junior Doctor International Association through the World Medical Association, and has completed a project training the first emergency medical doctors in Ethiopia. He also has worked as a speaker for Feed the Children in Bolivia and Uganda, and works now as an emergency doctor here in Toronto at the Michael Garron Hospital. Today on the Upcast, Dr. Kaufman lets us know what works in international development.
But first, this Upcast is powered by Doctors for Doctors and Nurses for Nurses. We're a Canadian charity that sponsors the medical education of high-potential youth in rural Nicaragua. If you want to ensure everyone has access to quality healthcare, first visit doctorsfordoctors.ca.
Have the humility to know that you know absolutely nothing. I think that sums it up nicely. And I can't think of how many times our local partners have saved us, Mike.
And God bless the local partners. And also that learning the local language is key. That was huge. It's why you have been trying to learn Spanish, Andrew, for 5 years now? And how far along are you in learning Spanish, by the way?
Shut up, Mike.
You mean, I believe it's pronounced Kiate, Miguel.
It's Kayate.
Kayate. Exactly. Kayate. I love the notion of stealing a trench digging job, actually, that Dr. Kaufman and I talked about, from a local. And it makes you kind of think twice about going somewhere to volunteer to build homes, or really build anything else for that matter. There's just something really important in the economics of the whole situation here. So the supply and the demand, if you remove the value of labor by volunteering, then you're creating additional supply. The demand goes down, the whole economy suffers. It's fascinating.
Yeah, you're right. And that being said, I think there is a way to do something like that in the right way, and I'm excited to learn more about this as we bring in more speakers.
Yeah, me too.
Now, Dr. Kaufman is about to tell a really good story about how an organization can optimally use their funding. And there's a balance act between the people we want to support, the organization itself, and keeping the funders happy. Now, the best organizations, he says, can balance this very well.
So take it away, Dr. Kaufman. Nothing like measuring how much protected sex you had, Andrew, right? By counting the number of condoms you bought. If that were true, you would have more sex than I could count.
Kayate, Miguel.
Good joke.
Speaking of which, from my experience as well, the best projects, they're not sexy. I had a mentor one time tell me this, and it's something I've always held very closely. And he said, it's amazing how much you can achieve when you're willing to not take the credit for it.
So speaking of taking the credit, can I just say something about granting organizations here who take a lot of credit for the good work they do? And I acknowledge that, but sometimes who's really doing that work? I mean, the organizations that have to beg to get their money. And then those organizations start to turn into professional beggars, as Dr. Kaufman was talking about. And we need to appease the funder to actually do the work. And then the grantor or the funder makes us dedicate all of our energy to the grant application process when we could have almost completed the task already with this crazy application.
Yeah.
So one org that I want to really call out is the Royal Bank of Canada, RBC, who have the most elaborate application process you've ever seen. And there's no way that our organization would find the time to apply based on the off chance that they might give us some of that money. So it's 20 pages, it's got a full financial audit, and it gives ask for your history going back 5 years with paperwork to support it all. It's ridiculous. So similarly, I also know another executive director of a charity that spent an entire month of her time writing grants. She applied for several, didn't get any, and then her tiny organization with just a few staff suffered because the ED was taken off. So to any foundation or granting body listening, the system of competition that your application creates doesn't necessarily increase the quality of the work that you get. It just beats everyone down into submission until the last one remaining is the one who gets the money. It's messed up, and maybe you should all reconsider what's going on here.
Yeah, especially ironically, sometimes granting bodies really dislike the idea that money is going to go to admin fees, but you need those admin fees just to write the granting process to begin with. So anyways, thank you, Mike, for that rant on grant writing.
So Dr. Kaufman's next point here was something I found fascinating personally. It's the tension between different forms of international work. So no one I've ever met has spoken about it before, and his expertise as a medical doctor and as an engineer make him perfect to talk about it.
Yeah, this next clip is quick, but it's really impactful, so let's listen in.
So Dr. Kaufman said that the two kinds of international work were compatible but difficult. I guess, Andrew, that's kind of like you and your ex.
All right, Mike, you're officially on a joke ban for the rest of the episode.
Nailed it. We need a laugh track in this place.
That is not going to happen. Now, the concept of working yourself out of a job is something I've heard a lot of in this biz, and it's something that I struggle with all the time in rural medicine context for doctors. So just some questions here that I constantly face and ask other professionals. When do we leave the location, and what is enough work for us to do? Is it best just to support students only until they graduate and just keep it simple and clean and cut? Is it best to support them after they graduate as well? Do we stock up medical health clinics that they want to work in? How much is within our scope, and what is truly sustainable?
And I guess there's no real answers to that, or maybe in the words of Dr. Adam Kaufman, the answers to those questions might depend on where we want to leave it, I guess.
Yeah, and I think some people focus on branding for the answers to those questions. Some people focus on like the humanitarian aspect and just trying to do as much as they can, which often doesn't make the best branding. But Dr. Adam Kaufman has done a lot of different things as a doctor and as an engineer, including being a part of the first iteration of Engineers Without Borders. He came out to our new space at the University of Toronto and in his own quirky way gave us an incredible amount of useful information in just one short hour. Although I'm sure in his own humble way, he'd say that the info wasn't that useful. He also came in on such short notice, and honestly, I'm very grateful for it. So thank you very much, Dr. Adam.
For all our listeners, if you want to hear everything that Dr. Adam Kaufman said in his live interview with us, you can find the extended version of this upcast on our website, doctorsfordoctors.ca, under the Development Works tab. Our Canadian charity strives to do the best international development work possible, and as we continue to learn, we are sharing all our learnings with you.
And we would love to hear from you too, so drop us a line on our website and find out where you can see our next event live.
And now, updates for the month.
In Doctors for Doctors and Nurses for Nurses this month, it's been a lot of work on the back end here in Canada, while over in Nicaragua, our students are in their respective medical schools and still pushing to help their communities more. So we are continuing to work with our local partners, the Foundation of Jean Brugger, to strengthen their outreach while they're still in medical school to give back to their communities.
And has everyone seen our new website? If so not, you should check it out because a lot of people work their butts off to get it up and running. So thank you also to Wix, our new website host, for keeping it free.
Absolutely. Now, over in our volunteer network, we're currently looking to recruit an accountant to help us with our books. So if you know anyone who's really good with numbers, who's looking to volunteer, send them over our way. They can apply directly through our website now, just to click on the volunteer button.
And that's on our new website. So that does it for this month's update on Doctors for Doctors and Nurses for Nurses. Anything else, Andrew?
Yeah, let's actually hand it back to Dr. Adam to give us a basic rundown of how to do international development well.
And that's everything for this month's episode of Development Works. Thanks for listening.
This is Andrew and Mike signing off, and remember, if you don't make mistakes, you're not working on hard enough problems.